Hello, hello, hello. TM24 here, and we are back with some more Marvel Snap content. Now, if it's your first time finding the channel, welcome. I hope you find this video entertaining, and if you're a returning viewer, I hope you enjoy it even more because I appreciate your support. My llama here, he appreciates your support as well. But this deck here, oh man. This deck it's tough. I mean, you can see the name of it. It's evil. I'm going to start this video just with a little story here, right? So, I'm playing Conquest. I'm trying out some new decks. You know, it's nothing crazy. It's the very first one. We're going for, I think it's the silver ticket. So, we're in the proving grounds. And this is the list that I put together to try it out. First game goes by. No problem. We get a win. It's only for 2 cubes. Nothing crazy. Second game. Okay, it's a little bit closer, but again, we get another win, another 2 cubes. Now the third game. The third game is where we ran into a little bit of trouble. And it wasn't because of the deck. I don't think we dropped a single, maybe we dropped one. Maybe we retreated one time. But the third game, oh my gosh. My opponent, he hated me. And if you're watching this video, if you see it, I'm sorry. I'm just trying new things, but after that third game, he let every single turn run down, the whole timer, every single time. And I could tell, it was the frustration. He was there, he was still playing, but he was running down the clock. I guess essentially just let me know how displeased he was with having to play this deck. So as you can see, this deck is evil. It will probably make people dislike you a lot. Hate's a strong word, so I'm not going to use it, but hey, some people might take it to that level. So let's talk about this deck. First up, we've got 3 1-drops. We've got the Hood, Spider-Ham, and Titania. And the Hood, Spider-Ham kind of do something similar. As you can see, Spider-Ham is gonna definitely disrupt their deck a little bit. The Hood, though, ideally, we're getting that demon in hand, and then if we've got Viper, we're sending the Hood over. So we're trying to disrupt our opponent's side of the board as well. Now, Titania and the demon that we get from the Hood, those are our other 2 1-drops. Typically, we're holding those till turn 6, because as you can see, we top out at 5 in the terms of cost of our cards. We've got Gamora and Spider-Woman as our highest costing cards, and ideally, those are played on turn 6, one or the other, depending on which one you need for the situation. So, we hold Titania, we hold the Hood. Next up, we've got 3 2-drops. We've got Black Widow preventing draw. We've got Carnage to eat up all of the garbage that we put on our side, whether it's the Hood, whether it's the Sentries, the Void, whether it's all these rocks from debris. Carnage will at least allow us to clear some of them up and get a little power in the meantime. And then the Viper, Viper is there to toss the Hood over, to toss those rocks over, to toss Spider-Ham, Black Widow, all those cards over, stuffing up our opponent's side of the board, making it really easy on us. So those are our 3 2-drops. And now we've got 2 3-drops. So we've got Green Goblin. I really enjoy Green Goblin. I realize how frustrating of a card it is to play against. But in this deck, Debris is probably even more frustrating. She is completely stuffing up the board. As you can see in this game happening here, my opponent is a move deck. So having a fairly full board is going to be worst case scenario for them. But Debris is great at that. And because we've got things like Carnage, we can eat up some of those rocks, clear up a little bit of space. We've got other huge power cards in the form of Sentry, Gamora, and Spider-Woman, where it's more beneficial for the board to be stuffed with bad cards from our opponent than us. We can kind of overcome the bad cards we have, but with our opponent having bad cards, it's going to be really tough for them to come back. As you can see in this game here, this time, thanks to a location which we could take advantage of because we have some pretty bad cards, their Oscorp is pretty much full on turn 4. And now we're going to make it even worse by tossing Black Widow in there, and we're going to send them another rock, because why not? If they don't play on Oscorp, which they probably won't, then they have a rock. But if they do, hey, it's okay. We still have 3 power there, and we are in a really good spot. In this case, they don't end up playing an Oscorp. They do play a couple of cards into the Eternity range. Our Black Widow comes out, preventing that draw. And then the Rock comes through, and we've already won Oscorp. So now it's just a matter of winning another location. But let's get back to the 3-drops. And I think I misspoke. We've actually got 3 3-drops. So we talked about Green Goblin. We talked about Debris stuffing up the board. The other one is Polaris. Now, I love Polaris because she allows us to kind of manipulate our opponent's side of the board, whether it's 1-drops, 2-drops, or, you know, maybe it's rocks that we've sent over. We can help stuff up lanes that otherwise they wouldn't, you know. Ideally, they play a 1-drop on 1, a 2-drop on 2, separate lanes. We can combine them into one lane, and then, you know, we're already well on our way to making it tough for them winning that lane. So those are our 3 3-drops. Our only 4-drop is Sentry. Now, if we can send the Void over with Viper, great. It can be really tough to do because obviously you need to play Sentry before you play Viper, and a lot of times it's just worth Viper throwing a rock over or throwing the hood over, or, you know, even Black Widow. So I do like that Sentry is 10 power, and because our board can sometimes get stuffed up, we can play him as long as our right side is already filled without that downside of that -10 Void. So I like Sentry in this list. And then our last 2 are our 5-drops, and that's Gamora and Spider-Woman. And obviously Gamora, you're trying to hit on where they are hitting so that you can get a 5 for 12, which is huge. And Spider-Woman, if they've already filled a lane, but maybe you need to bring it down a step, you can come through with her, decrease the power there. She is a 5 for 12 herself in a different way. And then typically you'll have either Titania or the Demon to play from the hood to combine with one of those 2. So that is the list. Now, how you play it, it really just depends on each game. But I'll talk you through these. As you can see, it comes down to turn, you know, I think we're on turn 3 here already. And, you know, we're trying to do a little something. We're trying to stuff them up. Muir Island definitely threw us off because we wanted to give them the hood. Polaris is going to pull those other cards over into Sakaar, and we are going to end up moving Polaris. But we are also going to just, well, maybe we don't move Polaris. Actually, I think we hold Polaris here. We play Viper. No. Wow, I guess I don't remember this game all that well. It looks like we're playing just Sentry. We're sacking Muir Island. We want to get 10 power down. We want to start winning a lane if possible. They move everything they can over to Muir Island, which is fine. Those cards are going to start to gain a lot of power. But right now, we've got a huge lead in Sakaar. Ultimately, I think that's why we went with it. But as you can see, each play, each game is completely different because you're trying to mess them up. That's your whole goal throughout this game, and they are just trying to play the game. So it can be a bit tough for them. Here, as you can see, we get a rock down, and we use Viper to toss that rock over, and we play a Demon early because we saw that we had Titania and Spider-Woman still in our hand. Now, if we would have picked up something like Carnage, we could have thought about eating the Void. Obviously, in this case, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it does make sense to go ahead and play Spider-Woman into Clintar to reduce the power there, buff ours up to 17. We do throw Spider-Ham, but we're already up 18 in that location, so we should win that no problem. Spider-Ham comes through, Mr. Fantastic comes out, which is a decent little play, but ultimately they are nowhere near having enough power to actually win that one, and we get a nice big victory there. Like I said, playing this deck can be tough because you're trying to mess them up, but you're also trying to win, right? You're trying to play your cards in a way where you don't have Spider-Ham, Black Widow, and a rock all in the same lane. Now, with Clintar, not a big deal. We could fill that all the way up, knowing that on turn 4, they're all going to turn into a symbiote. But you got to play these in kind of a strategic way, kind of spread them out. Yes, you get most of the value from the effects that they bring, Spider-Ham, Black Widow, you know, Debris, Green Goblin, but you also need to make sure that your lanes aren't completely stuffed with garbage. So in this case, you know, we're not worried about Clintar. We just talked about that. We are able to get Debris down, throw some over into the Avengers compound. They do play Scarlet Witch, which changes the Sanctum, which is not terrible for us. We are down. We're hoping that maybe we can pull that Scarlet Witch. Granted, we're probably going to pull the Rock. We can't pull the Widow's Bite. We got a 50-50 shot at this point. But what we're doing here is we're pulling over into the Avengers compound, knowing that if they played there like they did, then that lane was filled. They can't play anything on turn 5, so we're free to kind of make whatever play we like. In this case, we can go ahead and we can get Spider-Woman down early. So we've already secured the Avengers compound, and now it's just a matter of, can we win Onslaught Citadel? We're already up 3, and we have Gamora. We're going to hold off playing Titania because we don't want to send 5 power over to their side of the board if they played only 1 card. So we play just Gamora, knowing that she is going to hit for 12. Blue Marvel does come through for them, as does an Iron Fist. Ultimately, they're not enough in Onslaught Citadel. They do tie in Avengers Compound, but because we have more power, we end up getting a very, very close victory there, but it was a good victory. All right, here is the next game here. As you can see, we didn't draw a single 1 or 2 drop on turn 1, nothing in our opening hand. Finally, we pick up Spider-Ham, so at least we've got something to play. We probably should have played him over into Clintar. We do see it's Wolverine, and doesn't that feel good? Hitting that Galactus, knowing that now that is not an option for them. Now it's just a matter of, how do we win this game? We know that they've probably got things like Destroyer. They've probably got a Doc Ock. They've got Wave, of course. So now it's just a matter of figuring out how we are going to win this game. So Wave comes out. We've got a couple options. Ultimately, Spider-Woman or Gamora make the most sense. You could see potentially a play for Sentry, but because we don't have Carnage in our hand or Viper, we're a little bit hesitant to play Sentry because we don't want to completely throw the Vibranium Mines yet. So Spider-Woman is going to be the play. We know we're going to hit at least Rock and Wave with some negative power. So now we're just waiting on them to make their play. We feel like we're in a pretty good spot, but in decks like the one we're playing against, or rather decks that slow it down, it can be a bit tough because our power comes from stuffing them up. We don't win by playing a ton of huge cards out there. We win by not allowing our opponent to play the game. Yes, that I realize how frustrating that sounds for our opponent, but that's our game plan. We're trying to prevent them from getting anything done. So that's how we win, not by just throwing cards that are huge powerhouses out there. Now, granted, we do have Gamora. She is really huge in terms of our power, as is Spider-Woman. Here, we ultimately decide to go Polaris, knowing that we can either pull that Rock or that Wolverine over into Clintar, giving us Xandar, and ultimately, right now, we do pull the Wolverine. So we're ahead on 2 lanes. They get an Iron Lad down, which hits an Electro. Obviously not ideal for them, but now we know they are only playing 1 card this turn. So we've got a real shot here to make sure that we win this game. It's a little bit tough with Titania because we don't want to play her if our opponent has the potential to wind up with her on her side, especially in this case because we know that they're only playing 1 card. So we hold off on Titania. Ultimately, we miss in terms of where we wanted to, what we wanted to hit, but they Zola the symbiote, and ultimately it was a winning play. We end up getting the job done, and we get another victory right there. So there we go. All right, so this was the list that I was playing, but there are other cards that might fit into this list quite nicely, depending on how you want to play it. I did feel sometimes it was a little bit tough for Sentry to come down. Ultimately, I think the 10 power and the negative 10 are maybe too much of a benefit to get rid of, so we're going to keep Sentry for now. But one card I do like potentially adding to this list is Ant-Man. A lot of the times our lanes are going to be full, so being able to drop Ant-Man for, 4 power as a 1 cost feels great. It's like dropping Titania. Additionally, there are other evil / bad cards. Things like Scorpion, you could really mess up your opponent. Maybe Scorpion instead of something like Black Widow. And then, of course, there is the other Goblin. The reason I don't go with the Hobgoblin is because it seems too expensive at 5 in order to get down. We've already got 2 5 drops. Yeah, we're probably playing one of them on 6, but 5 just feels like a lot. Although I could see a case for this being made because the more negative power we could put on their list, the better. But if we're stuffing up the lanes, we don't want him to get too full where he winds up on our side. So that's why Hobgoblin isn't in there, but I could definitely see it. Other than that, you know, a simple card like Iceman would be really frustrating to play against as well. I mean, it's not going to be a super meta list, but it's going to be a fun list. It may make your opponent dislike you, but you'll probably have a good time playing it. So if you've got these cards, give it a shot. And if you've hung out to now, I really do appreciate you watching the video. If you haven't subscribed or liked yet, now would be a good time to do so if you want to see more evil decks like this. I'm sure they'll be coming out in the future, but I'm going to try and go towards something that's a little more friendly and a little bit more, I don't want to say fun, but definitely something that's not going to make your opponent upset with you. But until we put out those videos, have some fun.